Soccer is a game of fine margins, and one of the most enduring arguments in the sport is that a unified team with real chemistry will always have a chance against a squad of individual superstars, no matter how big the talent gap is. The 2015-2016 Leicester City season is the ultimate test of that idea. Looking at this chart from 1999 to 2015, Leicester spent years bouncing between the Premier League, the Championship, and League One. Relegated, promoted, relegated again. They weren't a sleeping giant, they were a yo-yo club with no consistent home in the top flight. Then the 2015-2016 season happened. Premier League champions at 5,000 to 1 odds, the biggest upset in the history of professional sports. And here's the bookend. As of April 2026, exactly 10 years later, Leicester City have been confirmed to be relegated to League One. It's not a dynasty, not the start of something. It was one single moment of lightning in a bottle. So the question that this project asks is, what did that one season actually look like under the surface? Not goals, not possession, not manager tactics, but the structural DNA of how the team was connected. That is what social analysis can tell us. The data for this project comes from StatsBomb, a professional football analytics company that makes event-level data freely available for academic research. I pulled every completed pass from the full 2015-2016 season for 5 different teams: Leicester, Norwich, Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Arsenal. That data went through a Python pipeline via Jupyter Notebooks, filtering the raw event data down to completed passes only, aggregating by player pair to calculate how many times each combination of players connected across all 38 Premier League matches, and exporting a weighted edge list for each of them. Those files went straight into NodeXL, where each team became a directed weighted network. Every node is a player, every edge is a passing relationship. The thickness of each connection reflects how often that pair connected across the full season. 5 teams, 5 networks. Here's what the data revealed. I want to show you the relegated teams first, because they tell a story that sets up everything else. Norwich City. When you size these nodes by betweenness centrality, the measure of how many passing routes across the whole team run through each player, one node dominates immediately. West Houlihan. With a betweenness of 20.55 and a perfect closeness score of 1, Houlihan was an attacking midfielder, so his positional dominance at least makes sense. But the structure is still fragile, one player holding the entire network together. Newcastle United. Daryl Jan Mott leads every single metric on his team, with a betweenness of 41.959, and Jan Mott was a right back, not a central midfielder, not a playmaker. A fullback. The fact that the defender on the right side of the pitch is the structural hub of the entire team tells you Newcastle's midfield wasn't doing its job. Aston Villa. This one produces one of the most alarming numbers in the entire data set. Center back Jolyon Lescott has a betweenness of 45.33, the highest of all 5 teams. A central defender is the structural linchpin of the entire passing network. Gueye led the team in raw passing volume, but Lescott had higher structural importance. 2 different players dominating 2 different measures, no clear identity on how they moved the ball. The pattern across all 3 relegated teams is identical. One player holding the whole thing together in the wrong position. Remove that player through injury, suspension, or a good press from the opposing defense, and the network collapses. The paradox of Arsenal. This is where the project got genuinely interesting. Size these nodes by betweenness and nothing jumps out because 8 players are all tied at the top, all at 6.255. Ozil, Sanchez, Ramsey, Monreal, Koleshny, Mertzacher, Giroud, and Coughlin. No single linchpin, 8 players sharing the structural load equally. The highest density of all 5 teams, with 83% of all possible passing combinations between players used at least once across the season. By every conventional metric, Arsenal had the best passing structure in this data set, the most connected, the most distributed, the most efficient, and Leicester beat them. To understand why that's surprising, it helps to understand what these metrics are actually measuring. Density tells you how many of the possible passing combinations between players were actually used. Arsenal used 83% of theirs. That's a team that passes to everyone, involves everyone, and keeps the ball moving through the whole squad. In basketball terms, it's a team running set plays through every player on the court. Between this tells you something different. It tells you which players the ball has to go through to get anywhere else on the field. Arsenal had 8 players sharing that load equally. No single point of failure. No single playmaker. A perfectly distributed team. Leicester had lower density and 2 concentrated betweenness hubs that looked worse on paper. But what it actually describes is a team that doesn't need to involve everyone. It needs to get the ball to 2 specific players as fast as possible. In basketball terms, that's the team that grabs the rebound and throws the outlet pass before the defense can get back. Arsenal's structure was optimized for possession. Leicester was optimized for transition. Both are valid, but in 2015-2016, transition beat possession, and the network shows exactly why. So what did the Champions Network actually look like? 2 nodes dominate, N'Golo Kante and Jamie Vardy, tied at 12.119 betweenness. That 2-headed structure is unlike anything else in the dataset. Both hold perfect closeness scores and the lowest clustering coefficients on the team. But the load is shared equally between a defensive midfielder and a striker. Vardy received 21 passes across the season, second only to Kante's 22. He wasn't lurking on the periphery waiting for long balls. The ball was actively being funneled to him. The counterattack isn't just a tactical observation, it's structurally visible in the data. Kasper Schmeichel, the goalie, ranks 4th in betweenness at 9.37, with 20 passes made versus only 15 received. The goalkeeper was pushing the ball forward more than he was receiving it back. He was a counterattack launchpad, and the network shows it. Leicester's structure wasn't the most complex or the most connected. It was the most resilient. No single point of failure, unconventional structural roles, and a tactical identity visible all the way down in the passing data. When you put all 5 teams side by side, the argument becomes visual. The Leicester heat map makes the pattern immediate. 2 teams drowning in red, 1 team in green, and Leicester in gold, holding the middle with the most balanced betweenness distribution of any non-Arsenal team in the data set. The betweenness bar chart tells you why the relegated teams lost. Their best passing metrics belong to a defender. In every case, the structural weight of the entire team sat on 1 player who should not have been carrying it. The density bar chart explains the paradox. Arsenal's numbers should have predicted a title. Leicester's numbers shouldn't have. The champion didn't win by having the most connections. They won by building a structure that fit exactly 1 strategy. And the geodesic chart shows that despite lower density, Leicester's network was still compact. The ball got where it needed to go quickly, which is exactly what a counter-attacking system requires. One thing surprised me more than anything else in this data. Before running the analysis, the conventional narrative about Leicester was Kante wins the ball, lays it to Drinkwater releases Vardy. That chain is real, but Drinkwater ranks only 8th in betweenness on his own team. The network reveals the difference between tactical importance and structural importance. Drinkwater was a relay node in 1 specific sequence, but social network analysis measures structure across all 38 matches, not just the moments that became highlight reels. What this project ultimately shows is that structural resilience matters more than structural complexity. Leicester did not have the most connections, they had the right ones. And maybe that's the deeper point. In most professional sports, money and talent predict outcomes with near certainty. But soccer has always held out the possibility that a team built right, not built expensively, not built conventionally, but built with the right structure for exactly 1 thing, can beat anyone. Claudio Ranieri didn't go out and buy a new squad. He built a system around the players he already had, maximizing their chemistry, their roles, and their structural relationship on the pitch. The data suggests that building a system to fit your people is more powerful than constantly shopping for new people to fit into a system. For 1 season, Leicester proved it. The data agrees.